Hello again. I thought I would take one more video to talk about myself a little bit before hopefully diving into some more topics of interest. But I did want to take just hopefully a really short video just to discuss my history with video games, why they're so special to me, what they've meant to me over the years, and then now as a father, how special and really fun it's been to share this hobby in particular with my kids. My history with video games is really broken up into three distinct phases. The first one being elementary school, younger years. The second one being junior high, high school, with a little overlap into my first couple of years of college. And then, like I mentioned in my first video, I took a pretty long break from playing any video games at all. And so then the third phase is me as an adult. In my early years, I loved video games more than I played them. So by that I mean I did have an NES when I was young, but by that time the NES had already been on the market for 6, maybe going on 7 years. I was 6 or 7 myself, and I got a hand-me-down NES from one of my uncles, and I have a lot of fond memories of that thing. This is back in the early 90s when I was still renting video games from a grocery store because they were everywhere, and we didn't really have a lot of money to put into video games at the time, and also my mom was not a big fan of encouraging the hobby, so we didn't buy video games. I think I owned Super Mario, but that was about it. It was basically what limited selection they had up in the video rental spot at the front of the store. And I do, though, distinctly remember there was one copy of Mega Man 6. Mega Man 6 was my first, and really the only one that I played. And this was at a time where if you're lucky enough to rent the game after there's already been some save spaces that advanced far enough, you could maybe get further in the game than you normally would on your own. So I had a lot of fun playing that. Similar situation happened with the Super Nintendo. I got one, again, hand-me-down from a relative, but it was years after the Super Nintendo had been on the market. And so for those years, I almost exclusively played Super Nintendo at friends' houses. My best friends owned Super Nintendo, so every time I went over to their house, we could play. And then one summer, when I was about 10 or 11, and I remember because this was the same year, or the summer after, I guess, the Street Fighter movie, the live-action movie, had come out in theaters. I went to cousins across the country in Florida, and we spent a large chunk of that summer vacation time playing Super Street Fighter on the Super Nintendo. We rented the Street Fighter anime film that came out in '94, I think, that was popular at the time, and of course the live action movie, which 9-10-year-old me loved. And so that's another example of how video games, in particular the media associated with video games, really, outside of the game itself, the characters, the worlds, this stuff became very, very popular among my friend groups, and we talked about this stuff all the time. I had Street Fighter action figures. We watched the movies, and the actual amount of game time that I had was limited. For Street Fighter 2 in particular, I could probably narrow it down to that 1 week vacation in Florida. Might have been all the Street Fighter 2 that I played that year. But the games, the characters, the stories, the worlds were huge. And the same thing happened with Mega Man. There was a Mega Man cartoon series that maybe had 1 season around this time, but I really loved it. And this was also a time when physical books, game manuals, even trading cards, you'd get your hands on those things, and you'd read all about the characters and their backstories and create these elaborate stories and scenarios in your head, and maybe do more of that than actually play the video game. The only game system that I got during this period, that I got when it was still relatively new or everyone was getting one, was a Game Boy. I got a Game Boy one Christmas. It was under the tree. I unwrapped it. I remember because I got to open it before traveling to the grandparents' house, so I think I got to open it maybe on Christmas Eve before we left to drive to the grandparents' house, so that I was able to play it in the car right? And so my mom let me open it early, and that was a really special memory. And then when I got into the junior high era, and especially freshman, sophomore year of high school, this was the Nintendo 64 era, and this was a different time. I actually got a Nintendo 64 maybe a year after release, but it was close enough to launch that I had my own system at a time when the system was new, and I did get a significant number of games. I was old enough that was all I wanted for Christmas was Nintendo 64 games, so I played a lot of GoldenEye, Mario 64, Star Fox 64. Then when I got into high school, and one or two of my friends also had N64s, that was now that we're older, you're 14, 15 years old, you can stay at a friend's house. That's when party, Friday night, stay up until 2 in the morning drinking Mountain Dew and eating pizza and playing Smash Brothers, playing WWE wrestling games, racing games with my friends in high school. That was the time when I played more than I was just interested in characters and stories and cartoon shows. I actually played the games. It was when I played with friends that, when we rolled credits on Street Fighter 2 back when I was 9 or 10 years old, it was because I was playing the arcade mode, passing the controller around with my cousins that summer. If I beat the game, it was very likely because Rogue Squadron in particular comes to mind. Stayed up all night with one other friend, just passing the controller back and forth level after level until we beat Rogue Squadron. It was playing with other people that I had the most fun, as opposed to spending all the time on my own. So freshman year of college, I get the original Xbox. It was my first time having a system that was not Nintendo. So I would come home and I would play Xbox by myself, and I did complete quite a few Xbox games on my own, like Knights of the Old Republic, the Star Wars game. But even then, when friends would come back who had gone off to other colleges and they'd come back for Christmas break, we'd still take my Xbox and hook it up and play multiplayer co-op games, all night long, just like the good old days. Lots of fond memories of gaming with friends. That was the thing to do for me and my group of friends. Instead of going out or even just shooting hoops in a backyard, right? For us, it was sitting around a console playing multiplayer games until all hours of the night. And then, like I said, I took a long break from video games. Over a decade. I got married. I did not upgrade to an Xbox 360, or never owned a GameCube. The only time I played video games during this period was if a friend owned a Wii, because seemingly everyone and your grandma owned a Wii at that time. And then in 2018, I had my kids. I'd taken a long break from gaming. The Switch looked like something that I could, because of its portability, pick up and play new games just on my own, sitting on the couch anywhere, not have to take up the TV, hop in and out of a game while my younger kids are taking a nap. And so I did that, and it wasn't until my kids started getting a little bit older and were interested enough to join me in some games like Kirby and Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, that we really started gaming again in full force. Animal Crossing was my wife's gateway into gaming. My son is now very, very much into gaming. He has his own Switch. He plays Cuphead and Kirby and all kinds of other games like that on his own, or we play together. And so now we're back to being a gaming family. And this year we're gonna get a PS5. It'll be my second non-Nintendo console and my first PlayStation. So I'm excited about that. One of the things that is interesting to me is that if you just ask me if I'm a gamer, I say yes, of course. Do I love video games? Yes, my whole life. They've been huge. And yet, as I go through those early years to lay out my thoughts here, as I thought about it, I realized that I almost wasn't really a gamer until I was in high school. And even then, it was only as a communal activity with friends. Now, as a father, right, I am able to share this hobby with my children. And it's interesting to see how they interact with these things, how they get excited that they got Mario RPG for Christmas this past year. That was like the one game that they really wanted, and they put it on their list, and they were waiting for months until they unwrapped it, and then they couldn't wait to sit and play it on Christmas morning, and then to be able to share it with them. You know, my mom didn't want to sit and play video games with me, and that might be part of the reason why I didn't actually play a lot as a kid. But now I love video games. I'm a gamer dad, and it's something I want to share with my kids, and so when they want to sit and play a game, I want to sit there and play with them. And now they're introducing me to things that I wouldn't have thought that I would have been interested in at all. Cuphead is a perfect example. Thought it was a very cool idea, interesting art style, but never would have bought the game. Didn't think it would be something that was for me. Even when I played first few levels, I thought, wow, this is really hard for a little cartoony platformer shooter type thing. This might not be for me. But my son watched other people play it on YouTube and just decided this is his new favorite game now. This is all he wants in the world. We made him work hard, chores and other things to earn money to buy it himself, and he did. And then he wanted to play it with someone because it is 2 players, and so I consented to sit down and play with him and get frustrated, and especially as he, at only 7 years old, is already better at this game than I am. And but I stuck it out for hours upon hours until we got through almost the entire game. It's almost beaten, and now I really enjoy it. I see what a great game it is, how much fun you can have after just a little bit of practice. Get over your old man, I don't have time to get good at this game, and actually get good at it. And I did it for my son. I didn't do it for myself to say that I have to beat this game, I have to get a platinum trophy, I have to 100% it. I did it for my son, and I'm glad I did now, because I really enjoy that game. I hope when he's in my position, 30 years from now, he'll be looking back at that Christmas when he was in the 2nd grade and the games that he got and all of the playtime that we had together. And that's something that he's going to want to pass on to his kids as well. So anyway, that's enough rambling for me. Starting with the next video, hopefully I'll get into some more topics that can be of use to you. See you guys next time.